Welcome to Knitting Step by Step, the video podcast that's been teaching you how to knit. I'm your host, Jason Block.
And I'm your knitting instructor, Ivy Reisner.
This is episode 11, the heel flap. But before we get into that, we have another announcement. Now, you sure you haven't cloned yourself, right?
Last I checked, no.
Alright, but you've got something else doing with knitting, right?
Yes, I started another podcast related to knitting. It's called Knit Spirit. It's audio only. You can get it at knitspirit.ivyreisner.com. The link will be in the show notes. And if you go on iTunes under Hobbies and Craft, Games and Hobbies I think is the section, and then Hobbies, you'll find it under New and Notable.
Very cool, very cool. And how many episodes so far?
I have one that's out and one that I'm just finishing the voice editing on an interview.
You want to say home?
No, listen to the podcast.
A tease, and we love teases. So, you've done the leg and the cuff of your sock, and it should look something like this. Today, we start the heel flap. Now, we're going to walk through all the parts slowly because this is what tends to give people trouble. Why?
Because people get nervous about the geometry. This is the point where you're taking a tube and sort of turning it, and people get confused with it. There's a lot of concern and fear about the heel flap, the turning the heel, and the picking up the gusset. It is really simple. We're going to do each of these separately. We want to give people time to make sure they understand it and can ask questions.
All right, how do we start?
We start by moving half of the stitches, so in this case it would be 32 out of 64, onto one needle. And now at this point, we're not going to be knitting around the tube anymore. We're going to be knitting back and forth on just those 32 stitches.
All right, and we're going to see how to do that in about a second, right?
Right. Okay, we're going to do a 3-stitch garter stitch ridge on both sides because that's going to make it easier to pick up the gusset later. So we start with knit 3, and then we're just going to slip this stitch, knit the next stitch, slip this stitch, knit the next stitch. And this pattern of slipping and knitting on the knit row is going to make this fabric very dense and very solid so that the heel doesn't wear out very easily. Now you can get various reinforcement yarn, reinforcement thread to work into the heel and toe because those are the areas that wear fastest, but I don't tend to find them very helpful. Most yarn shops will have them. You can also go to a sewing shop and get silk thread for a sewing machine, and that too you can use as a reinforcement. You're going to keep doing this until you have 3 stitches left. So knit, slip, knit, and you see I have those 3 stitches here, right?
1, 2, let me count, let's count them right there. 1, 2, 3.
Okay, just knit these 3. Now, like I said, we're not going to be working around anymore. We're going to turn our work and work back. So, we turn our work, and we're going to knit 3 stitches, because remember we're still doing that garter ridge on both sides. And I love the way that looks, that little garter border. Even patterns that don't call for it, unless there's a good reason not to, I tend to put them in anyway.
That's what we call knitter's choice.
Yep. And now you're just going to purl until the last 3 stitches. So, purl, purl. There's a lot of variations of the heel flap. The most common you're going to find is this, and one that's called the Eye of Partridge heel.
Which was named for?
I don't know. I think because it looks like the eye of a partridge, I suppose.
Okay.
But
no one knows everything about knitting, that's for sure.
What you're also going to see, I'm hoping you can see it here, is this little...
You want to try and you want to see if I can zoom in on that?
Yeah.
Let me see what I can do.
This little, like, stranded line here. And you're going to see that. That's because you slipped the stitch. You're going to see that between every two. So don't worry if you spot it. Just ignore it and work past it. I've gotten questions occasionally on, did I drop a stitch there or what's going on?
I'm sorry, I'm just moving it a little bit. Camera one's a little shocked, so pardon the shakiness there, folks. And if Ivy kills me later, blame me. Because I am not the tripod expert here, so just blame me for that one.
The tripod needs oiling, I suppose. It has one of these decisions if either it won't move or it will go flying off in some direction.
Yes, that's why we review the footage before we put it up, folks. Yes. It's like, put it this way, guys, when we recorded this, it's been one of those days. Just trust us, guys. It's been one of those days.
Okay, you're at the last 3 stitches.
Right.
And you're going to go and you're going to just knit these stitches.
Mm-hmm.
I just want to show you the beginning of that knit side again.
Okay.
Now, one thing you want to sort of pay attention to here as you're turning. Remember I told you when we started with double pointed needles to watch out for hitchhikers? They tend to come along at the turning line. So again, just kind of keep an eye out for that it's a real stitch and not a made up stitch like we showed you. My yarn has a knot.
And there you go.
Okay, so just to start that bit again, it's knit 2, 3, and then it's knit 1, slip 1, knit 1, slip 1, and you're going to see this becomes a really dense fabric. Repeat this until the end, until the last 3 stitches, knit 3, and you're going to work back, knit 3, purl to the last 3 stitches, knit 3.
For 2 inches long.
For 2 inches long.